Hello and welcome back to a new watercolour video. Today I'm painting this cute little picture with these lovely little beach huts, and I'm doing it all in pastel colours. I'm using watercolours and I'm using watercolour pastel set as well by Derwent, which is lovely. If you'd like to watch the full extended version in real time, it'll be available on my Patreon. I'm now uploading all my videos in extended full real-time version for my Patreon paid for tier. So it's a new tier that I've introduced. Up until now I haven't had a paid for tier, it's just been the free downloads, and that will continue. You don't have to sign up if you just want to download the outlines, and the outline for this will be on there as well if you want to download that. That's completely free, but you do need to be a follower. I'm going to use Archie's watercolour paper today, but I'm going to try and make it into a square format because I prefer the square format and I've run out of my square one. I'm going to quickly sketch out 3 beach huts. So I'm going to make a faint line for the ground, one for the height of the hut. I'm kind of sketch out 3 huts. And I'm going to do some bunting, so let's make it a little bit wonky. I'm going to make them nice and colourful and then add some grass and flowers across the bottom section. I'm using some masking fluid just to mask off the little pieces of bunting. I'm going to use a silicone sculpting tool. I'm going to use this little pointy one here. Paint this on all the little places that I want to stay white for now. For the full length videos, thought I would make them available on Patreon as a paid tier, just for anybody who wants to watch in real time and can kind of paint along with me at the same time. I'm also going to do extra content as well for that paid tier, and it's £5 a month. So in dollars, in US dollars, that works out about $7.50. And there'll be at the very least 5 videos, so there'll be the 4 extended versions of my watercolor tutorials. I've already got 1 extra video already recorded, and that is packing some orders in my hut where I run my little paint making business. So I'm going to do behind the scenes stuff, so there'll be little things like that about running my little business. I might add little nature walks videos as well. I've bought a jelly plate, I fancy having a go at that. I've got different kits that I'd like to make, and I'd just love to make videos using them. I've got air dry clay kit, I've got printmaking, lino printing. So that's what I'm going to do. So if you're interested, the links are below to my Patreon if you want to sign up. And like I said, there'll be at the very least 5 videos, but I will upload more. I've already got the first extra video on. As I've said, I've got the first full length video. It's over 2 hours, and that was of the fox that I did last week. So starting from now, all my YouTube videos, there'll be extended videos available as well. I'm going to use, for a change, Roman Szmal paints because I bought them and I've hardly used them. So there was the little Urban Sketches set, which I added a couple of extra colours to, and then these were just extras that I bought. Some of these today. Oh, I forgot to say I'm also going to use these Derwent pastel shades. I'm going to paint the bunting and the huts with these because they're absolutely beautiful pastel paints. Yep, so that's those. Look at those gorgeous colours, and they're quite strong pastel colours as well. I'm going to start with the mop brush and I'm going to wet all of the sky. I'm going to take it right down to the base here, right down to the ground, I should say. So I'm making sure that that's lovely and coated in water, but I don't really want any puddles of water. I'm just going to get a little bit of cobalt turquoise, not much, just a little bit on the end of the brush, and kind of, it's quite strong, kind of just drop it in at the bottom there to look like there's a little bit of sea behind. Now, this cobalt turquoise, you can get it in most brands. And then I'm moving on to this Misty Morning. Now this one is exclusive to Roman Szmal, and it is a lovely colour. I'm just going to paint the sky in that. The reason I'm not painting the sky blue, just a bit of an experiment, is because one of the huts is going to be blue and I don't want it to be the same colour as the sky. So I'm making, this is kind of like a purpley blue. I'm going to bring it right down, just let it join onto the turquoise colour. It's kind of blended in a little bit. And then maybe get a little bit more, quite strong. Get it mainly in the corners and the edges, just so that we'll get a nice crisp white border when we take the tape off. And then the last colour I'm going to get, I'm just going to put it all over the ground. I'm going to wet all the ground area. I'm going to get some of this glauconite, I think it's called, so it's this colour here, just for the ground. So I think that'll be nice, kind of, you know, like beach grass, just for the base, because I'm going to paint grass and flowers over the top. So I'm just going to cover the ground in this. It's really not a very strong colour at all. So you could just use, if you haven't got this colour, like a Daniel Smith buff titanium or something like that. Maybe add a little bit of brown into it and you'll probably come up with more or less the same colour. Okay, that is dry now, and this Misty Morning is so lovely. Don't know if the camera's picking that up, but it's kind of separated. The blue, it's like a blue and pink pigments have kind of separated, and it looks really nice. Okay, so now onto the huts. I'm going to use the lovely pastel colours. So we'll start with this one. And I think I'll paint it this nice peach colour. So I'm just going to go right in, get the paint, and just paint it straight on the paper. But I'm going to, it's really, really strong, so I'm going to add some water. I'm not going to paint the doorway. I'll paint the doorways different colours. So just get some water on there. Just adding water onto the page to water it down. And then I'm going to get some of the kind of slightly darker salmon. This is like a coral colour. I'm going to drop that in the bottom. And I've got the colour off my brush, and the brush is just damp, and I'm going to blend that in a little bit. Wash the brush off again and let it blend. Then get some of that neat darker colour. I'm going to drop it under here. Just kind of let it do its own thing really. Maybe put a little bit under here. I don't want to make this too thick because this particular paint, I've made it too thick before in a colouring book a few weeks back and it crumbled. So yeah, I don't think that was a good idea to make it too thick. Now I'm going to move on to the next one. Make the doors a little bit paler, and then maybe just add a tiny bit of another colour, maybe around the edges, just to give it a little bit of interest. Just kind of drop that in there, the bottom as well. I think I'll do yellow for the first door. Actually, I think that looks nice. Putting a few streaks in, it can look like some kind of panels on the door. So I think I'll quickly do that on this one as well, while it's still wet. Put a little bit of darkness at the top. And then I'm going to put the pink flamingo on this one, a little bit of pink flamingo. A little bit of cornflower blue. Streak a little bit of that in. Now I'm moving to shadow violet. So this colour here, shadow violet, to paint the little porthole windows. Now time to take off the masking fluid. I'm going to make up some of the pastel colours on the palette and paint all the bunting. nice to leave a few little white flecks as well, actually. There we go. I'm just double checking I haven't missed one, because I'm prone to just like missing bits out. I often miss door handles and things like that. Yeah, I think it's coming together. It looks nice. So I think the next thing is I will add some shading and then move on to the grassy area, and then I think I'll probably finish it all off with black line work, but I'll wait and see what it looks like, because I'm not really sure if I want to do that yet. So I might use this artichoke colour, paint some grass, but I think it might dry light, so I'm just going to experiment, but I'll be going over in layers. So this will just be kind of like a ground. A little bit of kind of ground texture. I'm just kind of doing this with the side of the brush like this, getting some dry brush effect. Just go over the bases a little bit. This is basically just a little bit of background texture. So I'm going to put the pastels away now and carry on now with the darker colours. I'm going to use some greens, and I'm just going to build up some grass. Get a little bit of indigo greenish. So this is kind of like a bluey green. Oh my god, that's far too dark. I'll just add loads of water to that. Little bit of olive green light. Just going to put them on my palette where I've got some spaces. It doesn't really matter if they're mixing with these colours on the palette either, because we just want various shades of green. So I'll put some of that dark one, that's like an indigo green, and I'll mix it in with that one that's already on the palette, and just make a few greens in different shades. Get some of this malachite. This is always also a weak colour, so I'll just kind of paint that on neat. Kind of thicker strokes. A little bit dry as well. Can you see how it's like not super wet on the brush? And change to another colour. Kind of get some of the yellowy green in as well. I'm going to make smaller strokes across the bottom here to try and kind of disguise the edge, so it all looks a little bit overgrown. I've got a little bit of burnt sienna here as well. I'm going to mix a bit of that in to the green, just to give a little bit of brown as well. And then I'm going to switch to the smaller brush, the little rigger brush, and make some smaller sprigs of grass nearer the huts. Hopefully try and give a little sense of distance. This one's much darker, this green. This is the Aquarius green. And some kind of much larger ones coming from the bottom, as though these are more in the foreground. And then because it looks a bit harsh, I'm just going to get some water on the brush and just soften in some areas. So just clean water. And this is just going to be the background for gouache. I really don't like the lines here. I'm going to try and blend that out a little bit. So I'm just using clean water and rubbing that line. A square end brush now and just add some texture and some shading. So I'm going to do it like a dry brush effect, so any kind of square end brush like this. I'm going to go with this Maiden one, size 2, and I want these to stand out white, but they're not really standing out at the moment. So what I'm going to do is do like a dry brush effect and just add some kind of scruffy texture in the background, but add it like more around these white roofs, as though like they're white wooden roofs. So I'm going to use this Cypress raw umber deep, so it's basically just a raw umber colour, and I'm just going to stick that there. It doesn't matter that it's mixing into the green a little bit. And then I'm going to use the top of the paper to get most of it out of the brush. So we've just got like a bit left for kind of dry brush. And then just going to add just some little bits here and there around the edges of the roofs. So I'm going to add it kind of in different places. So that it won't look kind of stupid on its own when I put it around the roofs. Then just to soften it up a little bit, got a little bit of water on the brush and just softening some of the areas. We'll take it around some of the edges of the doorways as well. And then I'm going to put that underneath the roofs here as well, just to make that even stronger. So that's just like a dark blue indigo colour. Then maybe around the edges, just define the edges of the huts a little bit more. And then I've got this kind of like a burnt sienna brownish, and I'm gonna darken underneath here with that one, just using the corner of the brush. I want some even deeper colour around the edges, around the doors. I'm going to go with this Aquarius orange, like a really deep orange. So it's really, really rich. And I'm going to mix that with some burnt sienna, which will darken it a little bit. And it's quite neat, it's not really watered down that much. And then just with the edge of the brush, I'm going like this on my actual painting to try and zoom in. Can you believe that? So I'll just zoom in on my phone screen. Just put some little edging in, but I love these little dots where the masking fluid splashed. They look really nice, don't they? So I think I'm going to put some white dots in at the end. So I'm just going to do this with the edge of the brush. Just tap. Just to get a kind of scruffy line. And then maybe just with the absolute corner underneath here. And I'm going to go down the edges of the house as well. So I'm going to do this instead of a black fine liner at the end. Just going to make a really dark colour of whatever the colour is. I'm going to line it with that, but I'm not going to do it all the way around, just here and there. I think that helps a lot. So now blue, obviously I'm just going to use a really dark kind of indigo. In fact, I'll use the shadow violet for this, so just like a really dark blue or dark purple if you don't have the same colours as me. And then I'll just use the dark Aquarius green for the end one. See what that looks like. Oh yeah, I think that looks quite effective. I'm going to use the side of that brush here as well with that dark Aquarius green and get some darker sprigs of grass around the ground area. Next I'm going to do shadowing on the bunting itself, so I just want a darker colour of what it is. So for example, the yellow, I'll go with this nickel azure gold, get a little bit of that on the end of the brush, quite strong, and I'm just going to do this to the right hand side of all of them. That's actually too strong, so I'm just going to water that down a little bit. Add a little bit of water. That's super strong. And just do a little bit of shading just to the right hand side of all of them, just to make them stand out a little bit. I'm going to do that for all the colours. So I'll just look for, like for the pink one, I'll just use this quinacridone red. It's quite a strong colour. And I'll put it on the reds as well. In fact, I'll put it on all the kind of coral red pink colours. And I'm just going to do that for all of the little bits of bunting, just to try and bring them to life a little bit more. I think that'll do for those. I'm going to add a darker, little bit of darker blue. I'm using the shadow violet again, And I'm just going to darken kind of the top area of these little portholes. Just doing kind of like a half moon C shape. Do the door handles. I'm going to move on to the gouache now, but I'm going to use a little bit of the Misty Morning from earlier. I'm going to make it super watery. I'm going to paint the, whoops, that's like way too strong. I'm going to paint the roofs so it's like a shadow colour, and then I'll go over, I'll do the highlights with white gouache. So I'll paint the whole of the roofs with this shadow colour on most of it, and then it should hopefully make the white gouache stand out better. Just roughly, really roughly covering it. And I'm also going to do the little window frames as well. Right, now for some gouache. I've got 3 colours. I've got some yellow. These are just ones that have been in my drawer. I need to use them. So I've got some yellow. I'm just going to do some flowers and some highlights. Got some permanent rose. Oops. Oops, didn't want that much. And some white. So I'm going to use the white first, just on its own, and I'm just going to draw some white flowers in the grass. So I'm not brilliant at drawing white flowers. I'm not brilliant at drawing flowers, but I'm just going to try and draw some kind of daisy-like flowers. I don't think this is the right brush, to be honest. I might change to another brush. Actually, I'll leave that for now. And I'm going to put loads more little dots. Because I thought they looked so nice. I do wish I was better at flowers. It's something I need to practice with. In fact, I could make a video practicing for Patreon. Another idea I thought of was making videos. Oh, what a mess I've made of that. That's not good, that brush. I'm just going to use this number 1 round brush by Princeton, number 0 round brush by Princeton. It's tiny. I should be able to draw little flowers with that. Yeah, so I was thinking of extra videos for the Patreon, like practicing flowers, practicing windows, practicing doors, because all these things I need to get better at. I'll just have to ignore that one now. But I wanted really like little daisy-like flowers. Oops, I hadn't been recording there. Oh, I didn't have the camera on it right, so I'm just basically trying to do these flowers. So if I just kind of draw them like this and then round the petals off, I think that'll be a little bit easier. I should maybe just do a cross. And then round them off a little bit. I mean, it'll still look nice, it's just that they're not really very realistic. And I'm gonna make up a pink now. So I'll get some of this white. Just add a dot of that to make a nice pink. Make a bit of a stronger pink. I'll start with the stronger pink and make a different type of flower. And then I'll just paint some lighter white bits over the top. So now I'm adding the white highlights on the roof. So using the white gouache, just going to do a line, but leave a little bit of dark underneath, a little bit of the shadow white. Over the little highlight over the top of those windows, a little bit on the bottom edge on the inside, so the top edge on the top, and then the little bottom edge underneath. I'm going to add some stalks to the flowers with the dark Aquarius green and the tiny little rigger brush. So just some little spindly stalks here and there. Might add a few little blue flowers as well. I'm going to use some of the turquoise just so that it ties in, I think. Is that the one that I used? Yeah, turquoise. I'm going to get a little bit of the white. Bit that, I don't want that yellow. Get a bit that isn't contaminated. Mix it with some of that blue. And I'm just going to do some little blue flowers as well. I'll put some lighter over the top, so I'll start with the dark just to get the shape. I'm just going to do these little trumpet shapes that I like. So they're just kind of like little tulip shapes. It'll bring some of the blue down into the grass. Just do a few little dots as well. And then get some of the lighter stuff and just drop a little bit of that over them as well. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm getting some of the shadow violet colour, and I'm going to use that to paint the strings on the bunting. Actually, I've watered it down a little bit to make it a little bit more watery, and just paint the little strings in between. Just to finish it off. And I think I'm finished. I think I'm going to leave it at that Right, so I need to get the tape off, see what it looks like. There we go, so that is the final picture. I'm actually quite pleased with it. I think it's cute and I think it would look nice on a wall, and I hope you paint along, paint this for yourself. And remember, my new thing, the full version, is on my Patreon. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll be back next Sunday with a new tutorial.